Hi and welcome to the vlog. I'm Tova. I'm a single special needs mum. I am 46 years old, so I have entered that wonderful phase known as midlife and perimenopause, which means that I have recently added perimenopause as one of the many topics that I talk about on this channel. This channel is all about what life is like with a severely disabled child. And, well, perimenopause is something most women will go through. All women at some point in their life with more or less extreme symptoms. And I got to a point where my symptoms were pretty bad and I needed to get some help. A little while back, I posted on this channel 2 vlogs about my health. And the first one was about the health conditions that I have diagnosed and that I live with and manage on a daily basis. And the second one was about why I think I'm perimenopausal, what symptoms I'm experiencing. And in that vlog I said I was due to go and see a doctor in a couple of weeks from date of recording it. And at date of recording this vlog, it's been a couple of weeks since I've seen my doctor and I've been on HRT for that time. Before I went to see the doctor, there were a couple of things I was a little bit worried about. I was worried that I was going to get dismissed, that I was going to be told that, oh no, you're just depressed and you need antidepressants, or even that I was too young. You hear some pretty sad stories from women who've been trying to get help for years and constantly have been dismissed. So that was definitely going through my mind. And I wanted to, I suppose, mitigate that. So when I booked the appointment with my GP surgery, what I said to the receptionist on the phone was, I want to talk to somebody about perimenopause. And she went, we have women's health specialists, doctors here, so I'll book you in with one of them. I was like, yes. My surgery actually has 2. Oh my God, but they're shared with different surgeries. But I think that is amazing that, you know, you hear so many stories about GP surgeries that have no one who knows anything about perimenopause, and I'm lucky enough to have a GP surgery with 2 women's health specialists. So I booked that appointment and it was quite a wait before I could come in and see her, but I did come in and see her, and actually the experience was overall pretty good. Really good, actually. Overall really good. A couple of little niggly things, but not too bad at all. So the first thing obviously that happened was that I said, I'm here to talk about perimenopause, and she said, okay, well, tell me a little bit about what you're experiencing. So I gave her a brief synopsis of my symptoms and she went, yeah, sounds like you're in perimenopause. Yes. So yeah, that really was my first victory. It was that immediate, you're not dismissed. I'm not making light of this. I'm taking you seriously and I think you're right. And I was just such a relief. And then we started talking about options for treatment and I said, I want to try HRT. And she was like, great, what HRT do you want to try? Oh, what is there? Oh, well, what do you want? So that was my first niggly bit. It was like, well, you're the doctor here. And, you know, I didn't come into it completely unprepared. But I'm still, every day, I'm reading up on things and I'm listening to podcasts by experts and I'm learning and learning and learning. And I'm adding so many pieces to my puzzle. But yeah, I would have liked a little bit more guidance, I think, from the doctor. Because if she's a women's health specialist, then isn't that really what her job is? But we were talking about different options. And I mean, first of all, it's yes, you know, we're going to give you estrogen supplementation, and because you have a uterus, we're also going to give you progesterone. And then most of the discussion was around how to administer the progesterone. So one of the options was the Mirena coil, which then sits in your uterus and slow releases progesterone. And I'm not a huge fan of the idea of a coil, so not my first option. And then we started talking about taking oral progesterone, which I'm absolutely fine with. And it's probably one of the better options in terms of being a body identical hormone. But what we came up against there, it was the whole, so you start taking progesterone for the last 2 weeks of your cycle. And I'm like, okay, when is that? Because my cycle can be 22 days long, or it can be 28 days long, or it can be anything in between. And I was like, oh, so when do you start? Do you start on day 14 or And then she said, well, we do have the option of combined patches where you get both estrogen and progesterone in the patch. And I'm like, okay, well, that sounds a lot easier, so let's try that. So the patches she prescribed are called Everil Sequi. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And it's basically 2 weeks of estrogen only patches and 2 weeks of estrogen and progesterone patches, and then back to 2 weeks estrogen only, and then 2 weeks progesterone and estrogen patches. So that is what I'm trying right now. She then followed this up with questions about my mental health, because she could tell that I was not in a good place. I was on day 2 of my cycle and I was an emotional wreck. And she did offer to put me back on antidepressants. And so this was my other little niggly thing, is that, you know, I didn't want this to be just dismissed as depression. And I didn't want the depression and anxiety symptoms dismissed as not potentially perimenopausal, if this makes any sense. I mean, I've had depression and anxiety disorder for a long time. I mean, even in my early 20s. And back then they were definitely not perimenopause related. But one thing I have learned through my research is that if you have had depression before, you are more likely to have depression as one of your perimenopause symptoms. So this is a really difficult one, because I could not be perimenopausal and definitely be depressed. Or I can be perimenopausal and depression is one of those symptoms. Or I can be perimenopausal as well as depressed. So this is a bit of a difficult one. And what I said to her is, I want to see if the HRT helps my mental health before I go back on antidepressants. And this is not because I have an issue with antidepressants. I think antidepressants are brilliant, and I think they have a very important part to play. And I ran out of battery. I knew that was coming. And I'd set my other battery to charge, but unfortunately I basically have had to have a half-hour break in the middle of my vlog. I was in such a blow. Damn it. Where was I at? I was talking about how the doctor I went to see then offered to put me back on antidepressants. Yes. And I don't have an issue with antidepressants. I actually think antidepressants are brilliant and a super important tool in our toolkit. What I don't like about antidepressants is the period of coming on them, which I find very difficult. I basically feel 100 times more depressed, if not more. And then the period of coming off them, which can be really quite challenging as well. I was physically very sick for 10 days coming off them. So I did say to her, I don't want to go back on antidepressants right now. First of all, I cannot cope with 3 weeks of feeling that bad again, coming on them. I just can't. And secondly, because I think this is so connected to my hormone levels, I really want to see if HRT will help stabilise my emotional state as well. So that's where we've left it. We've not closed the door on it entirely. I can just contact them and say, hey, listen, I want to try antidepressants at any time, but she's also equally happy to kind of trust my judgment in, let's see how the HRT goes before we go down that route. Yeah, so I left that appointment crying with relief. Did I mention I was in day 2 of my cycle? I was so relieved not to have been dismissed. I was so relieved to have been prescribed HRT. And I was just so relieved it was over. Because when you're anxious and part of your anxiety is talking to people, it's not easy to call up a surgery and book an appointment, and it's even harder to go and attend that appointment. So yeah, I was crying in the car coming back from that appointment. I am doing now at least weekly, but more often bi-weekly updates on Instagram and YouTube Shorts. Just, hello? Yeah? 1 minute reels on my HRT journey. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, then go and follow me on Instagram if you prefer to see reels there. Or if you prefer to stay here on YouTube, then subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any time I upload one of those 1 minute shorts. Yeah, so I did a 1 minute short on my immediate reaction to being prescribed HRT, and I'm basically sitting in the car and fighting tears. I'm giving weekly updates on how I'm getting on and what I'm thinking and feeling. It will probably be posted before this vlog goes up. I've done one on what I don't like about my HRT yet, and I'm going to touch on that a little bit later in this vlog as well. I'm doing one on talking to my mum about her experience, and I've got loads of other ideas. And if there's anything you want me to do a short on, or indeed do a longer vlog on, related to perimenopause, then you know where the comment field is. Pop it in there and I will absolutely do something on it, because I love the ideas that you guys give me, and absolutely more than happy to take requests. Okay, you are standing on my notebook. Are you going to sit down on my notebook now? I need to see what I've written. Come in. Okay, so I've been on HRT for 2 weeks and 1 day. And what I'm feeling so far is a little bit of symptomatic relief. A little bit. I am feeling a little bit less brain foggy. I can actually recall things now. I mean, bearing in mind that in June alone, I lost my car keys between unlocking the car and sitting down in the driver's seat 5 times in 1 month. I am not kidding. I kept losing my car keys. Like, there is nowhere to lose them in that time, but that is like the level of brain fog I was operating on. And people could say something to me and I couldn't recall it immediately afterwards. I was listening, I was paying attention, and my brain would not recall it at all. So a little bit less brain foggy. I can find words again. I can remember why I walked into a room after a little bit. And I can retain information that's being said to me. I feel like I have a little bit more capacity for handling shit life throws my way. I had a day not long ago when life threw all the shit my way, and before school run I had to deal with 15 things that I did not want to deal with. And I coped. I managed. I messed up that day, but I managed to sort out what I'd messed up as well. So, these things happen. And I feel a little bit more able to control my mood, particularly control my anger and my rage. It doesn't mean that I don't snap at my girls, but at least I don't fly off the handle at my girls. And that's a huge difference. Massive improvement. You are still standing on my notebook. Luca, where have you been? Where have you got on your face? What I can't say yet, because it's too early, is if I'm on the right dose. I don't know yet. We're going to have to wait and see how I get on. It is far too early to say whether it is affecting my period cycle and my PMS. I have not yet noted any change in my joint pain or in how itchy my skin is or how much hair I lose. So none of that has been, I've not seen any of that yet. I'm trying to think, what other symptoms did I write down? I wrote down so many symptoms. I've not felt any difference in sleep. Yeah, no, so just a little bit more mental energy and mental clarity, I can say, that I've experienced. I still get anxiety, but yeah, I just feel like I can cope with the anxiety a little bit better. And I did mention there was one thing about the HRT I don't like, which I have noticed, and it's I don't like the patches. I find that they itch. I find that I'm constantly aware of the patch. And go and watch my short on what I don't like about my HRT, because I'm describing it in much more detail there. But yes, I'm not a big fan of the patches, so I think I want to ask my doctor to try the gel instead, and maybe do gel, estrogen and oral progesterone. But I want to do at least 1 full month on this. I want to do both the estrogen only and the estrogen and progesterone patches and just kind of see where I'm at. But so far that's the only thing I don't like about my HRT, is I don't think the patch is the right form of administering the HRT for me personally. You still with me? Well done. Do I still have a voice? Thank you so much. There will be many, many more updates to come. I think this is a super important topic, one that we don't speak about enough. And I think, you know, when you come at it as a special needs parent, it's a whole different set of challenges to deal with perimenopause. Not the least being that, you know, I'm caring for somebody who literally will not survive if I don't care for her. And that means that caring for me takes second place. Because I will survive if I don't care for me, but she won't. Yeah, so I think it is such an important topic, and I really want to make sure that we do speak about it. As I said, do make sure that you follow my YouTube shorts or follow me on Instagram for the reels so you don't miss those. And again, also, as I said, what have you got in your eye? Oh. Yeah, as I said, if you have any questions related to perimenopause, or you have any perimenopause related topics you really want me to cover, then put those in the comments and I will definitely get to them. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely rest of your day. Mwah!